Unaware his wife was the real owner of their condo, husband let his mistress throw her luggage out of their house. What she did next ruined them completely. He didn't just cheat. He opened the door of a condo he never paid for, let another woman wear his wife's robe, drink from his wife's mug, and then watched in silence as that woman dragged his wife's suitcase across the floor and pushed it toward her like she was trash being taken out. That evening, Anna Parker stood in the doorway of the home she bought long before she ever married him, staring at Emily, her husband's mistress, curled up on her couch. Daniel, her husband, stood between them, shirt half buttoned, guilt all over his face, but not enough to stop what happened next. Emily walked into the bedroom Anna decorated, opened the closet Anna filled, took the luggage Anna once used for work trips and dragged it out, the wheels screaming against the hardwood. She shoved it toward Anna and said, "Your husband said you don't stay here anyway." He thought he was throwing his wife out of his house. He thought she would walk away quietly, broken and powerless. He thought the keys on the table meant he had finally replaced her. What he never knew was this: the woman standing silently in that doorway wasn't walking away from her home. She was walking toward the truth that would legally strip him of everything inside it. While he and Emily laughed and planned their nights, Anna was the only name on the deed, the one with security footage, bank records, a watchful neighbor, and a lawyer who knew exactly what to do with all of it. This isn't just a story about adultery. It's about what happens when the person you humiliate in your own doorway is the only one the law recognizes as owner. Dear viewers, thank you for being here. If you watch without subscribing, it's like letting Anna's story be silenced after her suitcase hits the floor. Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts below, and tell me where you're watching from in the comments. The door slammed open with a sharp echo, the kind of sound that makes the air itself jump. Anna Parker, 28, quiet-faced, the kind of woman whose strength came wrapped in softness, stepped into the empty condo as if she had crossed into a new life. Her breath hitched, not from fear, but from the sudden rush of everything she had worked for. Sunlight poured across the bare living room floor, catching tiny dust particles that danced like sparks. For a moment, she simply stood there, gripping the small ring of keys so tightly her knuckles whitened. This condo wasn't just a space, it was proof. The silence dropped from intense to warm as she walked deeper inside, palms grazing the walls. Each touch held a meaning no one else knew. She wasn't just imagining furniture or decorations. She was imagining safety, her own future, her own freedom, the kind of stability she had learned to create for herself because the world had never handed her anything for free. Anna had grown up helping her father manage his rental homes. He was a calm, steady man who treated people with fairness, but never let kindness blind him. He often brought her to property viewings, showing her how to read people, how to notice the shift in their eyes when money came up, how to catch a lie hidden in a smile. She remembered those long evenings too clearly, the scent of old wood, the way he walked with a clipboard, the way he checked every window and lock before leaving, and how he always gave advice without pushing. People show their true nature when money's involved, he used to say while locking up after tenants. Protect yourself, sweetheart. Always keep something that is yours alone. Years passed. After he died, the funeral bills and leftover debts didn't care that she was grieving. Anna worked 2 jobs, daytime office assistant, evening cafe server, honoring everything he taught her. She saved every check, every tip, every spare bill. She skipped nights out, skipped new clothes, skipped anything that didn't move her closer to one goal. Until the day she walked into this condo, hers, the one she paid for entirely with her own discipline and a small inheritance that she refused to waste. She didn't do it to show off. She did it because she wanted a place where she could breathe without fear of losing it. That memory steadied her. She walked toward the small closet built into the hallway where she placed a fireproof box on the floor. It wasn't big, just large enough to hold the documents she had carried like a private shield. The deed, the insurance papers, copies of bank transfers, her father's final letter. On the lid in careful handwriting, she had written one simple word: private. Near the closet, a tiny security panel blinked softly. She'd paid extra to install cameras in the entryway and living room. a habit she'd picked up from her father, who always said, "Protect what you own. Don't just hope people will respect it." Her fingers hesitated before lowering the documents inside. A tiny ache pulled at her chest. He had only been gone a year when she bought the condo. Every signature she placed on every page felt like closing a chapter and opening another. When the lid clicked shut, she exhaled slowly and knelt to lock the box. The sound of metal turning was soft, but it carried weight, like she was sealing away not just papers, but a lifetime of lessons. She slid the box neatly to the back of the closet, where it sat low and hidden. She tested the key once more, then slipped it onto the same ring as her front door keys. Later in life, when things got more complicated, she would move the box to a safer storage unit. But that day, it stayed close, where she could reach it whenever she needed to remind herself who really owned this life. 4 years later, after steady dating and gentle encouragement, she invited Daniel to live with her. He was 30, charming when he wanted to be, well-dressed and ambitious. He came from a family where ease was mistaken for effort, so the condo seemed like a stroke of luck he didn't bother questioning. When he asked how she found the place, she smiled lightly and said, "I just got a good deal." He didn't ask further. He didn't notice the fireproof box. He didn't notice the way she kept certain documents locked away. He didn't see that the keys in her hand meant something far deeper than an address. Anna didn't mind his indifference then. She thought love made explanations unnecessary. Now, standing alone in the untouched condo before he ever moved in, she pressed the keys to her chest. She whispered to herself, "You built this. You earned this." Her father's voice seemed to echo behind the walls, steady and soft. "Protect yourself." As she snapped the final lock on the fireproof box, she had no idea how much she would need it. The box sat at her feet, silent but powerful. The security cameras blinked quietly in the corner, already recording a life she hadn't lived yet. A soft breeze slid through the open window, brushing her hair like a warning. She didn't sense it then, but small cracks in trust have a way of becoming earthquakes. The argument started with a crack in Daniel's voice, sharp, unexpected, and slicing through the room like broken glass. "I said I'll get to it, Anna. Stop nagging me!" The burst of anger was so sudden it stunned the air into silence. Anna froze near the kitchen counter, her hands still holding the stack of bills she'd been sorting. Her heart thumped hard, not from fear, but from confusion. Daniel Parker, her husband of 2 years, had never spoken that sharply before. He towered near the dining table, face flushed, phone gripped like a shield in his hand. And just like that, intensity dissolved. His shoulders dropped. His tone softened. "I'm just stressed," he muttered, rubbing his forehead. "Work is a lot right now." Anna nodded slowly, even though a small uneasiness tugged at her chest. She wanted to believe him. Daniel was 32 now, handsome in a clean, easy way, and often charming when he wanted to be. She remembered why she fell for him: his warmth, his laughter, his ability to make even simple evenings feel light. She placed the bills neatly on the table and forced a smile. "It's okay, I'll handle these. You focus on work." He didn't answer. He was already staring at the screen again, thumb moving over the glass like muscle memory. The shift from tension to quiet routine settled over the room. Anna moved around the condo with practiced ease, checking the light switch that flickered yesterday, responding to emails from the condo association, making a list for repairs. She handled the mortgage, utilities, and shared expenses, just like she always had. Daniel sent money sometimes, but it often came late or went toward his own personal spending first. This wasn't new. It had become their pattern. As she worked, memories threaded in. Daniel had grown up in a house where his mother did everything: cooking, cleaning, bills, planning, remembering. She moved through life quietly, never asking for help. His father, distant and proud, expected that service without question. Daniel absorbed that model without realizing it. When Anna married him, she stepped into a role he was already familiar with, even though she never agreed to it. At first, she accepted it because she loved him. She assumed marriage always needed adjustment. She told herself, "He's just tired. He's trying. He'll meet me halfway soon." But lately, the halfway point felt farther and farther away. She placed dinner on the table, simple food, warm and carefully made. Daniel sat down, not looking at her, flipping his phone so the screen faced downward. A small detail, but one that didn't escape her eyes. He had never done that before. Not in the early days when he used to show her memes and funny messages. While they ate, she watched him from the corner of her gaze. His posture changed whenever the phone buzzed. His eyes lit up, then dimmed, as if he was trying not to show excitement. Her stomach tightened, but she forced a calm expression. She didn't want to accuse him. She didn't want to create a battle where she had no proof. When he finally did look at her, he smiled faintly. "How was your day?" It sounded polite, routine, empty. Like a question asked out of habit, not interest. She pushed past the ache and answered normally. "Busy, but fine." Their marriage looked calm on the outside, but something underneath was shifting, slow enough to ignore, deep enough to matter. Anna got up to wash dishes while Daniel remained at the table. The kitchen light reflected off the water as she rinsed plates, trying to steady the uncomfortable feeling crawling up her spine. She wasn't suspicious by nature. She believed in trust, and she believed in him. Still, there was something different in him lately, something hard to name and harder to ignore. As she placed the last plate on the rack, she turned to check on him. Daniel wasn't at the table anymore. He stood near the living room window, phone angled toward his chest. His thumbs moved quickly, almost nervously. He didn't notice her watching. The phone buzzed again. He glanced around, once, twice, then smiled at the screen. A soft, secret smile she hadn't seen directed at her in months. When she stepped closer, he instantly locked the phone and slid it into his pocket. "Oh, you're done with the dishes?" he said lightly. Too lightly. Anna didn't ask anything. She just nodded. A small crack formed in her chest, but she pretended not to notice. She had learned long ago that sometimes silence was safer than accusations. Later that night, while Daniel showered, she found his phone face down on the nightstand once again. She reached toward it instinctively, then withdrew her hand. Her father's old words drifted back to her. People show their nature slowly, like a shadow stretching across the floor. Daniel came out of the bathroom smiling as if nothing had happened. But when the phone buzzed again, he turned away from her, shielding the screen. His small laugh, soft, secretive, echoed across the bedroom. Anna felt it like a closing door. She didn't know who he was texting. She didn't know why he hid it. She didn't know when the distance began. But something told her the answers were coming, and she might not like what she found. And while she tried to sleep, a strange thought whispered at the edge of her mind. Tomorrow would bring signs she could no longer ignore. The scream of the washing machine's metal drum hitting something hard snapped through the laundry room like a fault line breaking open. Anna jerked her head up instantly. The noise wasn't normal, sharp, intrusive, warning. She paused the cycle, opened the lid, and reached inside to fix whatever had caused the chaos. Her fingers touched something small, smooth, out of place. When she pulled it out, the world seemed to tilt. A lipstick, bright red, a shade she never owned, never wore, never even considered buying. The intensity of the discovery hit her chest first. Fast, loud, impossible to ignore. Her breath caught as she stared at the tube resting in her palm. For a moment, she didn't even blink. Her mind raced through every reasonable explanation, but none fit cleanly. None soothed the sudden cold settling under her ribs. She glanced at the open laundry basket beside her. It was the load she had started the night before. Mostly Daniel's shirts, his work pants, and the jeans he wore 2 days in a row. She hadn't washed anyone else's clothes. No guests, no visiting relatives, just theirs. She turned the lipstick slowly. The cap was slightly cracked at the top, as if it had been crushed inside a pocket or squeezed in someone's hand. Anna didn't wear red. She didn't like bold colors, and she had washed Daniel's clothes last night. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears as the scene's intensity softened into something quieter, something more painful. She placed the lipstick on the edge of the washing machine and stood still, letting the room settle around her. Her father's voice drifted from a long-buried memory. People lie fast when they've rehearsed. Listen for the speed, sweetheart. Lies always rush. Truth takes its time. She closed her eyes. Memories surfaced. Daniel smiling at his phone. Daniel flipping his screen down during dinner. Daniel stepping away whenever his phone buzzed. None of those were proof, but they were cracks. Cracks that didn't heal. When Daniel entered the laundry room minutes later, she turned toward him slowly, holding the lipstick between her fingers. He blinked in surprise. Just for a split second, one tiny moment where his face slipped out of control, his eyes widened. Then he smiled. Too easily. Oh, that? It's probably from work. My coworkers were messing around yesterday. His words came out fast. Too fast. Exactly as her father had described. Really? She asked softly. He nodded immediately. Yeah, just a prank. You know how people at work are. Another quick laugh. One of the girls must have dropped it in my jacket pocket as a joke. He added the last sentence too quickly, as if realizing he needed more detail. She didn't argue. She didn't accuse. She didn't even frown. But as Daniel walked away, relief too quick and too shallow in his steps, Anna felt a dull ache forming inside her chest. Not from anger, she wasn't there yet, but from the quiet shift happening between them. Something unseen was growing. Something unwanted. The washing machine hummed again, but Anna stayed frozen in place, staring at the lipstick on the machine. The color glowed under the overhead light, bold and loud against the soft whites and neutrals of their home. It didn't belong here. It didn't belong to her. And something deep inside whispered. It belonged to someone. She picked it up again, turning it over with slow, careful fingers. The more she stared, the stronger her intuition pressed against her ribs. She wasn't imagining things. She wasn't being dramatic. She wasn't being jealous. This was a sign, a warning, a truth trying to reach her. She walked into the bedroom with the lipstick and opened the drawer of her nightstand. The soft scrape of wood sliding open felt unnaturally loud. Without hesitation, she placed the lipstick carefully inside, next to her phone charger and her folded notebook. Not in the trash, not hidden someplace random, stored, as if she already knew she would need it again. Anna closed the drawer slowly. A quiet determination settled over her, something she didn't fully understand yet. She had no idea then that this small item, this red shade she never wore, would one day return with answers she wasn't prepared for. Tomorrow would bring something far louder than a forgotten lipstick. The suitcase hit the floor with a heavy thud, louder than it should have been, loud enough to make Anna's heart jump. She wasn't usually clumsy, but her hands shook slightly as she zipped the bag shut. The intensity of the morning pressed down on her chest like a storm she couldn't name. She was preparing for a 2-day training retreat for work, something her manager insisted she attend. It was mandatory. She couldn't skip it without a serious reason. Daniel stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her pack. "You'll be back by Friday night?" he asked. "Yes," she answered softly. "It's just 2 days. I'll be back before dinner." He nodded, but there was something off, something too calm, too eager in his tone. She couldn't place it, but the feeling lingered like a cold shadow behind her. She took a slow breath, letting the intensity sink into quiet reflection as she folded her last blouse and set it inside the suitcase. She wasn't suspicious by nature, and she wanted to believe everything between them could still settle, still return to the easy warmth they once had. Even though cracks were forming, she wasn't ready to assume the worst. Daniel walked closer and kissed her cheek gently. It felt familiar, but not full. "Drive safe," he murmured. Anna smiled faintly. "I will." They walked together to the door, and she grabbed her keys. A small tremor ran through her hand again. Nerves from the retreat, she told herself. Just nerves. The moment she stepped into the hallway and the door closed behind her, something in the apartment shifted. The camera of life stayed inside. Daniel's shoulders dropped in relief, his posture loosening like a man released from a performance. He pulled out his phone with a speed that didn't belong to a faithful husband. He dialed. The line barely rang once before someone answered. His voice lowered, excited, quick, stripped of the caution he used around Anna. "She's gone," he said. "Come tonight." He didn't smile. He grinned. Daniel then walked through the condo, moving fast, as if he had to erase any trace of Anna's presence. He straightened the cushions she touched that morning, wiped the dining table she cleaned, sprayed cologne into the air like he wanted to replace her scent. He even checked his reflection twice, smoothing his hair back. Nothing about his actions belonged to a man waiting for a quiet night alone. They belonged to a man preparing to welcome someone he knew he shouldn't. In the suitcase she carried, Anna arranged her documents neatly while waiting for her rideshare. She didn't know what was happening inside the condo. She didn't know Daniel was already rushing to make the home look single for the evening. She didn't know that the cracks she tried to ignore were widening faster than she imagined. Her drive to the retreat was quiet. The tension inside her softened as she watched fields and streetlights pass by through the window. She tried to focus on work, on the training sessions ahead, on her plans for the condo. She loved that home. She believed in it. She believed in them. During the first session, her mind drifted back to Daniel's strange calmness that morning, but she pushed the thought away. She needed to concentrate, to take notes, to show her manager she was serious. When the afternoon break came, she stepped outside for air. She texted Daniel once, made it safe, and got a short reply. Good. The word felt cold, but she ignored it. Evening came. The group gathered in the dining hall. Anna chatted politely with coworkers, trying to shake off the uneasiness. She sat with two women from another department, asking about their projects, forcing herself to stay engaged. Then her phone buzzed against the table. A single message. From her neighbor, Mrs. Phillips, a retired woman who lived across the hall. Months earlier, Anna had helped her after a small fall in the lobby, and they had exchanged numbers, just in case. Mrs. Phillips was sharp, observant, the kind of person who noticed everything from broken light bulbs to new faces in the building. Anna opened the message. 4 words froze her blood. Your husband's not alone tonight. Her breath caught, her fork stilled. The room around her blurred. Her fingers tightened around the phone. She felt the ground of denial finally shift under her feet. She excused herself from the table, voice barely steady. Somewhere between the dining hall and the exit, one thought settled inside her like ice. This night would not end the way she expected. The front door flew open so hard it hit the wall, the violent echo ripping through the condo like a lightning strike. Anna stepped inside, breath sharp and unsteady, her heart pounding from the drive she had made far faster than she should have. She had told her supervisor there was a family emergency, grabbed her suitcase, and left the retreat as soon as she could sign out. The intensity of fear, doubt, and anger mixed inside her like fire. She didn't call Daniel. She didn't warn him. She needed to see the truth with her own eyes. She walked into her own home, her sanctuary, only for her feet to stop cold. There, sitting casually on her couch, in her robe, was a woman with long brown hair tied up in a loose bun. The woman crossed her legs, drinking from Anna's favorite mug, the one with the faded blue pattern. Emily Hart, 27, a co-worker from Daniel's office. Always too friendly, always too present. Anna had met her twice at company events. Emily had introduced herself with a bright smile and the words, "Daniel talks about you all the time." Something about her tone had made Anna uneasy then, but she had dismissed it as her own insecurity. Now Emily didn't bother smiling. She lifted her eyebrows, calm and bold in another woman's home. "Oh, you're back." Anna froze. Every muscle in her body tightened. Her eyes moved slowly, painfully slowly, to her husband. Daniel stood near the dining table, shirt half buttoned, hair messy, guilt spreading across his face like a stain. He swallowed hard. "Anna, why are you back?" he stammered, voice cracking. His question stabbed deeper than any explanation could. It wasn't shock from being caught. It was shock from being caught too early. Anna didn't speak. She didn't move. She just stared, quiet, still, unreadable. Emily didn't bother hiding her satisfaction. In her mind, Daniel had told her enough lies to make her believe she belonged here. Enough lies to make her think Anna was hardly around, hardly involved, hardly a wife. Emily stood up slowly, the robe shifting around her body, revealing she was wearing nothing underneath. She stretched her arms lazily, as if she owned the space. "You know," Emily said with a small smirk, "Daniel said you're barely home. I didn't think you'd mind." Anna's breath shook, once, but her face remained controlled. Daniel stepped forward, panic rising. "Anna, it's not, this isn't—" He couldn't even form a sentence. His eyes darted between the two women, searching for words that didn't exist. Emily rolled her eyes, dismissive. Don't make this dramatic, Daniel. You said she wouldn't be back until tomorrow night. I packed light for a reason. That sentence carved the final mark across Anna's heart. Emily moved toward the bedroom, walking confidently through Anna's home, like she had every right to. A minute later, the wheels of Anna's luggage screeched against the hardwood floor, loud, rude, humiliating. Emily dragged the suitcase carelessly, the wheels rattling, bumping against the walls Anna had chosen paint colors for. She pulled it across the living room and stopped inches from Anna. She pushed the luggage forward with the tip of her foot. Your husband said you don't stay here anyway, Emily said, voice dripping with triumph. Daniel didn't stop her. He didn't reach for Anna. He didn't step between them. He just stood there, shame pressing into his shoulders, silence swallowing the space around him. His silence agreed with Emily more loudly than any words. Anna looked at the suitcase, then at Emily, then at Daniel. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't crumble. She whispered one single word, calm and razor-sharp. Noted. The quiet of it sliced deeper than shouting ever could. She bent down, lifted the suitcase handle, and slowly straightened. Her movements were smooth, controlled, almost elegant. Then she did something unexpected. She walked to the dining table, placed her house keys on the wooden surface, and tapped them once with her fingertip. The same keys Daniel had always assumed meant their home, even though he never asked whose name was on the deed. Daniel frowned, confusion flickering through his panic. Anna, why did you? But she was already turning away. She walked out of the condo without looking back. The door clicked shut behind her, soft but final. Outside, the cool air hit her skin, clearing her thoughts with chilling focus. Betrayal had broken something inside her, but not the way Daniel expected. It didn't make her desperate. It made her sharp. She looked at the keys one last time through the glass window beside the door. Left behind, on purpose. Because what Daniel didn't know was that she didn't need keys to reclaim what was hers. Something cold settled in her chest, something patient, calculating, something that would soon turn her silence into power. And far inside the home she built, a storm was forming that Daniel and Emily could never see coming. The moment Anna reached her car, the door slammed shut with a force that shook the entire frame, a violent burst of emotion she didn't let out anywhere else. Her breath rushed out fast and sharp, fogging the windshield. The inside of the car felt too small, too tight, too crowded with everything she had just seen. Her hands trembled as they gripped the steering wheel. The intensity of betrayal pulsed through her in waves, each one hot and suffocating. She could still picture Emily in her robe. She could still hear the screech of her own suitcase being dragged across the floor she once hoped would hold a future. For a few seconds, she could barely breathe. But then, slowly, her breathing steadied. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't fall apart. Instead, the fire inside her cooled, dropping into something cold and still. A quietness formed inside her chest, heavy but controlled. She leaned back in the driver's seat, eyes closing softly, letting that cold, steady feeling settle. Her father's voice slipped through memory like a hand reaching out of the past. Never fight in anger. Fight in clarity. He had said it on the porch of one of his old rental houses after a tenant screamed over a late fee. At the time, she was a teenager, angry on his behalf, ready to shout back. He stopped her with a hand on her shoulder. Clarity holds power. Anger only burns the holder, he had added. Anna inhaled deeply, letting those words guide her. When she opened her eyes again, the storm inside her was gone. What remained was something sharper. She reached across the console and opened the glove compartment with calm fingers. Inside, tucked beneath papers and old receipts, was a small silver key, the key to her fireproof storage box. Years ago, after she married Daniel and he moved in, she had decided not to keep her most important documents in the condo anymore. She rented a small storage unit and moved the box there, telling herself it was just for extra safety. Now that choice felt like foresight. She held the key between her fingers for a long moment. The metal was cool, grounding, steady, everything she wanted to be. Without hesitation, she started the engine and drove. The road ahead was dark and quiet, streetlights casting long, faint shadows over the pavement. Anna didn't race. She didn't shake. She drove with a calm so controlled it felt unnatural, even to herself. When she reached the storage facility, she parked and stepped out into the cool night air. The silence around her felt almost protective. She walked down the concrete hallway to Unit 14, a small steel door she hadn't opened in months. She unlocked it, slid the door up, and stepped inside. Against the back wall on a low shelf sat the fireproof box, exactly where she had left it years ago when life still felt stable. She knelt, slid the silver key into the lock, and twisted it. The soft click echoed in the empty unit. Inside the box lay the truths she never shared. The condo deed in her name, only premarital financial documents, showing she bought it long before Daniel bank records, showing she paid every mortgage payment herself. A handwritten note from her father. She unfolded the note gently. "Protect your peace." The letters were slanted, written in his familiar patient hand. Her throat tightened, but no tears came. This wasn't sadness, it was resolve. Anna took out the deed, smoothing it with her palms. Her fingers didn't shake. Her breath didn't falter. Everything Daniel believed he controlled was actually hers. She pulled out her phone, the glow of the screen lighting her face in the dim space. She held the deed close and snapped a clear picture. Then another. Then she turned the pages of the bank statements and did the same. She knew lawyers would need originals later, but for tonight, he needed to see enough to understand. Then she tapped to send the images. The recipient appeared on the screen. Attorney Morris, a calm, strategic man in his 40s. Trusted, sharp. He had handled her father's estate and told her years ago, "If you ever need help, call me." She pressed send. The message delivered instantly. Anna closed the box, locked it, and slid it back onto the shelf. The important papers were still safe there, but now the evidence lived in more than one place. Her calm now held a different weight, like a blade sharpened with purpose. As she walked back to her car, her phone buzzed once. A message from Attorney Morris lit the screen. She opened it. His reply held only 4 words. "I'm ready when you are." A low, cold certainty settled inside her, and in the shadows of her storage unit, a new beginning stirred. Quiet, patient, and already reaching for justice. The door to the condo swung open with a violent crack against the wall, loud enough to announce that whatever softness used to live here had been replaced with something colder. Anna stepped inside with a speed and force as she had never carried before. Her eyes scanned the living room like someone tracking an enemy, not a home. Every object, every shadow, every memory felt different now. Daniel was at work. Emily was long gone. And Anna wasn't here to grieve. She was here to gather every truth they thought she would never see. She locked the door behind her, using a small spare key she had never mentioned to Daniel. The extra copy she kept for herself in a separate place, just like her father taught her. Always keep something that is yours alone. As the intense energy faded into a cold, controlled breath, she moved quietly through the entryway. Her pain shifted into precision. Her heartbreak sharpened into strategy. The condo smelled like Emily's perfume, a sweet, floral scent that didn't belong in this house. Anna didn't flinch. She walked through it like a ghost returning to reclaim her space. Her first stop was the small security panel near the hallway. She had installed cameras when she first bought the condo, a habit she picked up from her father, who always believed in protecting what you owned. She tapped in her passcode and clicked through the saved recordings, each file waiting like a hidden witness. There it was. Timestamps, door openings, Emily entering, Emily leaving, Daniel welcoming her, holding the door wide like a host. Anna plugged in a small flash drive she had brought with her and downloaded everything. Her movements calm and steady, the tiny progress bar filled as if it were weighing out justice. Next, she walked to the bedroom. Emily's robe was still thrown across the bed, her perfume heavy on the fabric. Anna didn't touch it with bare hands. She slipped it into a plastic bag she brought with her, sealing the top carefully. Then she moved to Daniel's nightstand. His calendar lay open. She glanced over the scribbled notes until her eyes froze on one line. E comes over 7 p.m. Same date as the business trip that wasn't. She took a photo with her phone, ensuring the date and time were clear. From there, she walked to Daniel's small office nook, cluttered, full of receipts he forgot she knew how to organize. His tablet lay on the desk. When she opened it, the banking app was already signed in. Months earlier, They had used it together to look over shared expenses and file taxes. He had never bothered logging out. The arrogance made her hand steady. Transfers popped across the screen. Small ones, large ones, regular ones, all sent to a name she now recognized. Emily Hart. She took screenshots of each transfer, backing them up in her email and cloud storage. No single copy, no single device, no single point of failure. The condo was quiet except for the soft clicking of her phone's camera. She wasn't angry. She wasn't panicked. She wasn't lost. She was collecting proof. Anna walked to her own nightstand and opened the drawer. The lipstick, bright red, lay exactly where she left it. It sat like a truth she had been holding long before she even knew why. She picked it up gently. The top was cracked, tiny fingerprints along the side. She slid it into another plastic bag, pressing the seal closed. DNA, scent, fingerprints, all silent, all powerful. On her way out, she stopped by the neighbor's door. Mrs. Phillips opened it before Anna even knocked, as if she had been waiting, worry already in her eyes. "Anna, sweetheart, I didn't want to upset you," the older woman said softly, concern etched across her face. "You didn't upset me," Anna replied quietly. "I just need to know what you saw, in your own words. The night you texted me." Mrs. Phillips invited her in and explained everything. When Daniel opened the door for Emily, how Emily arrived with an overnight bag, how they laughed on the balcony, glasses in hand, like a couple in a movie. She spoke slowly, carefully, as if each word weighed something heavy. Anna listened without visible emotion, only asking short, clear questions when needed. At the end, she gently asked, "Would you be willing to repeat this if a lawyer needs to hear it?" Mrs. Phillips nodded with sad certainty. "If it helps you, yes." Anna thanked her and returned to her condo. Inside, she placed all the collected evidence in her bag, zipped it shut, and stood in the center of the quiet living room, the same room where Emily sat in her robe just the night before. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She answered. Attorney Morris's voice came through the speaker, steady, deep, familiar. "Anna," he said, "I've reviewed what you sent, and this is more than enough to start." Her heartbeat slowed, not quickened. Then his next words landed like a match on gasoline. "Anna, are you ready for this?" She didn't know it yet, but the moment she said yes would mark the beginning of the end. For Daniel, for Emily, and for everything they thought they controlled. The first bang shook the entire hallway. So hard, so violent, it rattled the picture frames inside the condo. "Anna, open the door!" Daniel's voice thundered through the metal, every slam louder than the one before. His fist pounded as if he could break the truth with his hands. It had been days since she gathered the evidence. In that time, things moved quietly but quickly. Consultations with Attorney Morris, paperwork filed, a temporary order granting her exclusive occupancy as sole owner, lock changes done through building management, and a formal notice prepared to be posted. The intensity of Daniel's rage now cut through the quiet condo like a blade. Attorney Morris, standing calmly behind Anna, didn't flinch. He had seen outbursts like this before. Rage was the weapon of men who thought the world belonged to them. Anna did not move toward the door. She didn't shrink. She didn't shake. She stood steady, face calm, holding the documents that would end everything Daniel thought he owned. Outside, Daniel kept yelling, "Why did you change the locks? Let me in. This is my home." His words hit the door with the same force as his hands. But taped to the front of that door, bright, bold, and legally backed by her ownership and the temporary order, was the notice he never expected to see in his lifetime. Notice to vacate non-owner occupant must leave registered owner. Anna Parker. He had read it 3 times already. Each time his disbelief grew bigger, louder, uglier. "What do you mean, owner?" he shouted again, as if yelling the word would make it less true. "This is my home. We pay for this." "Anna." Inside, Anna breathed slowly, letting her heartbeat settle into the cold calm she had learned from her father. Never fight in anger. Fight in clarity. Attorney Morris gave her a small nod. "It's time," he said quietly. She unhooked the security chain and opened the door only 3 inches, just enough to look Daniel in the face. He stopped pounding instantly. Shock froze him. Anna wasn't crying. She wasn't begging. She wasn't hurt. She looked at him the way someone looks at a problem that has already been solved. Anna, he breathed, voice cracking. What? What is this? Why did you do this? Why are the locks? It's simple, she said, her tone smooth as glass. This condo isn't yours. It never was. For a moment, Daniel didn't understand. His face twisted, confused, desperate. He stammered. But I thought you assumed, she corrected softly. You never asked. Behind her, Attorney Morris stepped into view. His presence made Daniel's face go pale. Morris, why are you here? Daniel demanded, voice trembling. Representing my client, the attorney replied. Your wife. Daniel blinked as if dragged underwater. My wife? He repeated. You remember her, Morris said calmly. The woman who owns this property. Daniel shook his head violently. No, she would have told me. Anna, tell him he's lying. Tell him. Anna simply reached through the small opening and handed him the manila envelope she had been holding. Daniel stared at it like it was a weapon. What is this? Divorce papers, she said. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Daniel's chest heaved. Anna. Wait. No, we can talk. Just open the door. Let me in. Let me explain. Her voice stayed steady. You had plenty of nights to talk. You used them with someone else. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Emily's name hovered in his throat like poison he couldn't swallow. He gripped the doorframe. You can't do this to me, he whispered, voice shaking now. She looked at him with calm, heartbreaking finality. Daniel, I already did. It hit him harder than any door could. He stepped back, the reality sinking in. Locks changed, legal notice on the door, divorce papers in his hand, attorney present, and the cold truth that everything he enjoyed in this condo came from a woman he betrayed. His breathing turned ragged. Anna, please. But she closed the door gently, the security chain sliding back into place with a metallic click that sounded like a verdict. On the other side of the door, Anna exhaled slowly. Her decision was made. Her future was already moving forward. But Daniel wasn't done. He wasn't going to walk away quietly. And something inside her warned. Tomorrow his desperation would turn into something far more dangerous. The gavel slammed down so hard the entire courtroom jumped. Order! The judge barked, voice booming across the walls. Weeks had passed since the notice on the condo door. Enough time for paperwork to be filed, responses submitted, and today's hearing scheduled. Time Daniel spent convincing himself he could still talk his way out. Now sitting at the respondent's table, he flinched as if struck. His face went pale, panic flooding his eyes. The sudden burst of intensity silenced every whisper in the room, freezing even the air. Anna sat calmly at her table beside Attorney Morris, hands folded neatly, expression steady and unreadable. This wasn't a fight anymore. This was judgment. As the tension slowly eased into a focused quiet, the judge gestured toward Anna's side. Mrs. Parker, he said, you may continue presenting your evidence. Anna rose. Her movements were slow, precise, and controlled, nothing like the frantic energy Daniel had shown all morning. She walked to the center with the confidence of someone who carried truth, not excuses. She handed the judge a flash drive. This is the security footage, she said softly, from inside the condo. The video played on the courtroom screen. Emily entering, Emily leaving, Daniel welcoming her with a smile, laughing together, kissing, drinking wine on the balcony while Anna was away on her work retreat. Daniel covered his face with shaking hands. Next, Anna handed over printed screenshots. These are messages between Daniel and Emily, she continued. He referred to our home as his place and told her I'm barely there. He invited her regularly. The screen showed lines of text. She's gone for the retreat, come tonight. And you'll love the view from my place. Then another set. Bank transfers, dates, amounts, all leading to Emily Hart. The courtroom murmured. People shifted. The truth pressed harder with every page. Finally, Anna placed one last document before the judge. The condo deed, her name on it alone. Judge Whitman adjusted his glasses, brows lifting slightly. Premarital purchase. he confirmed. Sole ownership by Mrs. Parker, with records showing she paid the mortgage alone. Daniel's voice cracked. But she never told me. I thought it was ours. I thought... You assumed, the judge said sharply. Assumption is not ownership. The courtroom fell silent again. Then came Emily's turn. She stood slowly, trying to maintain her usual confidence. She looked around with a shaky smile. Your Honor, I didn't know he was happily married. He told me he was unhappy. He said she was never home. Anna's head tilted slightly. Calm, cold. Attorney Morris raised a brow. The judge cut Emily off. Ms. Hart, the messages show you were aware he was married and that his wife lived in that condo. You agreed to come when she was gone. Emily froze. The screen replayed messages. When is your wife out? Tomorrow. She's at a retreat. You can stay over. Emily swallowed hard, scrambling. I can explain. But each explanation tangled her deeper. Each attempt to defend Daniel exposed more lies. Each sentence tightened the noose around their shared deception. By the time she sat down, even she looked like she regretted showing up at all. The judge leaned back, exhaling with finality. Given the evidence of adultery, financial misconduct, and the fact that the home belongs solely to Mrs. Parker, he paused, letting the weight settle. I rule as follows. The condo remains the sole property of Mrs. Anna Parker. Mr. Daniel Parker must vacate immediately and has no claim to the equity of the property. Mr. Parker is ordered to pay spousal support due to marital misconduct and the financial imbalance created during the marriage. Daniel's mouth fell open. Wait, no. Your Honor, please, this will ruin me. Can't we negotiate something? The judge looked at him with stern disappointment. Actions have consequences, Mr. Parker. Court dismissed. The gavel fell again. This time it sounded like the end of a life Daniel once took for granted. Outside the courthouse, the world moved around Daniel as if he didn't exist. His phone buzzed nonstop, emails from work, notifications, and then one devastating message from HR. We are initiating suspension pending investigation regarding conduct violations. Report to HR immediately. Word had spread. Screenshots don't stay private. Someone from the office had seen or received the messages, and soon they reached the company. A married man using business trips and work time to host an affair in what he called his condo did not look good on their records. He was collapsing faster than he could breathe. Emily approached him hesitantly. Well, this is getting messy, she muttered. Maybe we need space. Daniel grabbed her arm. Emily, please, don't leave me too. But she pulled away. I didn't sign up for a broke man with nowhere to stay, she said bluntly. I have my own life to think about. And then she walked off without a backward glance. Daniel stood alone, truly alone. He pulled out his phone, dialing the only number he could think of, the only person who might still have a shard of mercy left. Anna. The phone rang in his trembling hand. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3. His breath held. Would she answer? He didn't know it yet, but silence can be more painful than any spoken word. The knock hit the front door so suddenly and so hard that the vase on the entry table trembled. The sound echoed through the condo like the last desperate cry of a man losing everything. Anna froze mid-step, fresh flowers still in her hand. Days had passed since the court ruling. Daniel had been ordered to vacate. The locks remained changed. The condo was legally, practically, and peacefully hers again. Her breath steadied as she turned slowly toward the noise. Another knock, louder this time. Anna, open the door. Daniel's voice cracked with fear, humiliation, and something close to panic. The intensity wrapped around the air, thick and trembling. But unlike before, it didn't shake Anna. It didn't break her. It didn't even unsettle the calm she carried now, like armor. She didn't move toward the door. She didn't answer. She simply inhaled, long and slow, letting the sharpness fade into quiet. This was no longer her fight. The storm had passed, and she had survived it all. She walked away from the door, her pace unhurried, her steps confident. She reached the kitchen counter and placed the vase down gently. The fresh flowers, soft whites and pale greens, were ones she used to buy to brighten the home when she hoped for better days. But now they felt different, not reminders of the past, symbols of something new. She arranged them carefully, taking her time. Her hands moved with purpose, not urgency. She was no longer living in a space of fear or betrayal. She was standing in her own home, the one she bought long before Daniel, the one that held every memory of her father's teachings, her sacrifices, and her strength. Outside the door, Daniel knocked again, this time weaker, breaking. "Please, Anna, please talk to me." His voice had lost all its harshness. It was small, fragile, almost unrecognizable. But Anna did not flinch. She was done giving pieces of herself to someone who treated her like an afterthought. She walked into the bedroom, sunlight falling across the neatly made bed. She ran her hand along the edge of the nightstand, remembering the nights she stayed awake, wondering why Daniel felt so distant, wondering what she had done wrong. Now she knew the truth. She had done nothing wrong. She had simply loved the wrong person. She opened the drawer and pulled out a fireproof box. After the hearing, she had gone back to her storage unit, brought the box home, and set it where it always should have been, in the place that was fully and openly hers. The same box that once held secrets, fear, and unanswered questions. The same box she once hid because she thought protecting Daniel's comfort was more important than protecting herself. Not anymore. She carried the box to the center of the living room and set it down. The metal lid glimmered under the afternoon light. Slowly, she knelt, unlocked it, and lifted the top. Inside were the documents that changed everything. The condo deed, premarital financial statements, screenshots and printed proofs used in court, and her father's handwritten note, "Protect your peace." She touched the note with gentle fingertips. Her father had been right all along. Her phone buzzed suddenly, vibrating against the hardwood floor. The sharp sound broke the stillness. She looked over and saw Daniel's name flashing across the screen. For a moment, she just stared at it. The call continued. The phone kept vibrating. The entire condo seemed to hum with the sound. Daniel was still outside, still calling, still begging. Anna picked up the phone, held it in her palm, and exhaled slowly. Not in anger, not in sadness, just in release. The phone kept buzzing, and she let it ring. Her voice, steady and quiet, filled the space inside her mind. "I didn't destroy him out of anger. I protected myself with truth. And sometimes, truth is the sharpest revenge." The call faded. The screen went dark. The silence returned. Anna folded her father's note and placed it back inside the fireproof box. Not because she still needed to hide something, but because she was finally closing the chapter it belonged to. She shut the lid, locked it, stood up. Her shoulders relaxed, her chest lifted, and the weight of years fell away with one breath. She walked toward the balcony and opened the sliding door, letting warm air wash over her face. The view looked different now, wider, calmer, new. Behind her, the fireproof box sat closed, no longer a symbol of protection, but completion. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. Like, share, and comment on the lessons you've learned. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. See you in my next video.